welcome to SVG-TV's news for Wednesday, September 15th, 2021. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. With a steady increase in COVID-19 cases in SVG, Prime Minister Dr. Afghan said that he is closely monitoring the positivity rate as the date for the reopening of schools draws near. Speaking on the Issue on Hand radio program this morning, the Prime Minister said that once the positivity rate continues with over 5%, then a decision will have to be made on the type of learning which will take place before the reopening date of schools, which has been tentatively set for October 4th.
The positivity rate is going up, and this has some bearing if it continues like this to October the 4th. Anyway, the positivity rate is consistently above 5%. You're calling for particular kinds of regimes at the school, a blended approach to education.
The Prime Minister said he is also concerned about reports received that many of the tablets distributed to students island-wide are not in working order. This, he said, is bothersome for the delivery of and quality of education during a pandemic.
Aunties and uncles and parents take them away from the children and using them in particular ways and mash them up. So if we have to do a blended program on October the 4th, or God forbid, if things get terrible like in Grenada, that we have to do distance teaching and learning, how it's going to be done without these tablets which you gave? I could implement public policies and we do it sensibly, but I have to rely on reasonableness and good sense on persons who living in this small country. You're going to tell me that you need another 50%, you need another 15,000. I'm going to get the money now for that.
There are currently 221 active cases of COVID-19 in SVG, with a positivity rate as of yesterday at 11.9%. The island's 13th COVID-19 death was reported on Monday. Prime Minister Gonsalves has again reiterated the need for people to get vaccinated with any of the 3 vaccines available in the state. 5 months after a Lasso fire explosively erupted, displacing thousands of residents from the red and orange zones, some 18 emergency shelters remain open, of which 12 are schools. This was noted by Prime Minister Dr. Afghan on radio today. He said that more than 80 households are yet to return to their homes. However, more persons are expected to leave the shelters this week.
21. Kingston government has 24. Marco government has 31. We're hoping that by Wednesday we can move out of Marco government. This is the list as of Monday. Now today's Wednesday, so they'll probably between now and Friday, we'll probably move out of Marco government.
And given an update on the houses to be rented for those who remain in shelters as their homes were either severely damaged or destroyed, Prime Minister Gonsalves said the process has been ongoing, noting that 2 shelters were closed after rental accommodations were sourced for some of the shelterees. He said they are currently processing more applications for landlords, and once completed, it will see more shelters vacated.
18 additional landlords have registered and they're being processed. However, there are challenges to implement based on availability or willingness or willing landlords. And this increases the risk of low rates of shelter closures. But I'm asking if we can't, where we have moved out of some guest houses, whether we can't put some persons, temporarily while those persons who don't have their homes now, and while we're repairing, a kind of a temporary stopgap now, because we need to get the schools repaired.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Saab said that issues affecting Owia residents are being addressed, and it is not because of protest action held recently. He explained that repair works to the police station, clinic, and school have commenced, but there is an issue of shortage of contractors.
We couldn't find suitable contractors in the northeast from Monbentic going up to Fancy, because all the suitable contractors, all those who can really do work, as I was advised by Bragsa, had been engaged in working one way or the other. And they asked me if I can get 2 contractors for them from lower down in North Central, because if you're going to deal with Owia, you don't want people to go too far, to come from too far. I suggested the name of somebody from Byron and somebody from South Rivers. As soon as those persons were contacted, they were also contacted separately, I understand, to do work in relation to schools.
As it regards to the rental of police station, the Prime Minister said the house identified had to be abandoned in relation to the rental of a 4-bedroom house to be temporarily accommodating for the police officers in the community, which he had earlier indicated was being considered as the police station sustained significant damage to its roof by Hurricane Elsa. Prime Minister Gonsalves said that the rental plan had to be abandoned as the house they were considering needed significant repairs. He said another house, which was also in consideration, the owner was asking for thousands of dollars, which was too much. The Prime Minister said he is least bothered about negative comments made about him in Owia.
Then they came back and told me there is another house, but the person said that they want $4,000 a month. I asked if it's a Ritz-Carlton. You know, so I'm just, now, anybody who is interested in Owia could simply have called me, or they could have called Montgomery Daniel and find out what is happening. And that's the story, Johnny P. Simple like that is, you know, I understand that there are a couple of people who at the protest said that Ralph can't come up over here and what they go do to him. And I don't know why responsible people allow persons around them to talk like that. Well, that doesn't trouble me in terms of myself. None of them things worry me.
And news coming to hand is that the alert level at the La Soufrière volcano has been downgraded to yellow. A yellow alert level means that the volcano is restless. A seismic or fulmaric activity are above the historical level at the volcano. According to the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, the activities at the volcano have been low and reduced significantly over the past few months since the last explosive eruption on April 22, 2021. NEMO said residents of all communities that evacuated following the evacuation order given on April 8, 2021 can now return home. However, access to the summit of the volcano remains restricted. The prosecution in court today, earlier today, withdrew the charge against the woman accused of wounding Prime Minister Dr. Gonsalves during the August 5th protest in capital Kingston. Anna Mae Lewis, a 56-year-old vendor from Layu, showed up at the Kingston Magistrate Court today for the hearing in the matter, clad in all red with full support from her family. At a news conference, Lewis's lawyer, K. Bacchus Batiste, predicted that the charge against her client would have been dropped as a full disclosure expected by August 31st was never submitted. Bacchus Batiste said her client is now vindicated.
When I was trying to get Anna that night when they arrested her, and I couldn't find her, and the police kept lying to me that they don't know where she's not there yet. I knew something was afoul. And when I did get her, about maybe 10:30, 11, And she told me that they just make us sign a confession. And I asked her, was it true? She said they just make us sign it, but she didn't do it. I insisted she must withdraw it. I got flack from the police. The CID man said I accused him of taking a false statement. He was bad with me, and now look, they have to come and withdraw it. You know why? Because it is false, it is not true. She never threw a stone. You don't worry about what you see going around on Facebook, these doctored videos. Don't worry about that. I know that my client did not throw that stone. I know they had framed her. So that for some reason or the other she could go and apologize. And now she's vindicated. We stood up for justice and justice prevailed. And it will happen. Because we knew what was going on with the evidence. We knew that. And it goes to show that if people don't have lawyers to defend the rights, a lot of innocent people could go to jail. It is sad.
An elated Anime Lewis openly gave thanks to God for answering her prayers.
To feel good because I know I do not throw no stone at no Prime Minister. And this morning I wake up and I went down on my knee. And I said, God, you is in this. If you know I do it, judgment belongs to you. But if I know I didn't do it, you will forgive me. And this morning, here I am. Here I am this morning that they had withdrawn the case and the other one is for the 4th of January. I know I didn't do it. But weeping may endure for a night. But it's joy this morning. Thank you, Jesus.
The second charge against Lewis, which is for throwing a missile to the danger of persons present at a protest on August 5th, still stands and is set for hearing on January 4th, 2022. Lewis' lawyers received full disclosure for the case, which includes a video of a person appeared to be throwing an object. Almost 1 week later, after he was reportedly in a chokehold position by a police officer during the September 9th protest action in Capital Kingston, Carly John, who is the husband of opposition Senator Shavern John, said he is still struggling physically and emotionally with what took place. It was noted by one of his lawyers, Kebacus Batiste, that after the incident, John had to be taken to the hospital for oxygen to help him with his breathing. At a news conference yesterday, John explained the pains he is still feeling in his throat.
I'm not breathing properly, and I cannot swallow all that. I feel like, some big stone or something is in my throat because of the charcoal and what I sustained during the altercation between the police after the criminal assaulted me. My throat is still swollen. Sometimes I can't breathe. I can't breathe properly. Shortness of breath, and that happened all. It's continuing right now.
Another of his lawyers, Israel Bruce, said he found it alarming that he had to intervene to ask for John to be taken to the hospital for treatment following the incident.
So you heard that the female officer had a little scratch. She was sent to get medical attention. Everybody saw, the world saw, because within split seconds, these videos and images of Carly John was up on social media. A senior officer had to stop the chokehold, a very senior ranking officer. Mr. John was over at Central Police Station at CID, and it wasn't until I demanded that he be taken to get medical attention. That is when he got medical attention. He was sitting there. After that, nobody thought it wise to get him medical attention, but that little scratch required it.
The lawyers representing John are calling for an attempted murder charge to be brought against the police officer who reportedly placed John in a chokehold. Two St. Lucian nationals, Jean-Pierre Charles and Geron Toussaint, were rescued by the SVG Coast Guard services last Saturday, September 11th, 7.5 nautical miles northwest of Georgetown, St. Vincent. The RSVG police force said, according to a first-hand report, the SVG Coast Guard service received a distress call via police control at about 3:10 p.m., stating that fishing vessel Forward with two St. Lucian nationals on board encountered an engine problem and are drifting approximately 5 nautical miles off Georgetown. The Coast Guard vessel was deployed at about 3:15 p.m. to conduct searches, and the vessel was rescued at 4:25 p.m. The police say the occupants of the fishing vessel claim that they left St. Lucia at about 5:30 a.m. on a fishing expedition and subsequently encountered an engine problem at 2:20 p.m. Emergency number 999 was dialed, and they received a response from the Police Control St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which resulted in the Coast Guard being deployed. The vessel and the men were taken safely to the Coast Guard base at Kaliakwa. Several farmers and other stakeholders in the agricultural sector will be partnering with the Ministry of Agriculture in a quest to reduce the country's staggering food import bill, which stands at $200 million. The farmers and other stakeholders recently received from the Ministry of vegetable seedlings, which will help this endeavor. The seeds are from a donation made to the ministry from the government of Brazil, which was made possible through the Inter-American Institution for Cooperation and Agriculture, IICA. A representative of the IICA, Michael Dalton, said with the significant impact to agriculture by the explosive eruption of the La Soufrière volcano, the IICA came up with several response strategies, which include investing in livestock and redeveloping SVG's vegetable production. Dalton said the IICA has partnered with different countries, including Chile, Argentina, Brazil, and a company called Breyer in producing the vegetable seeds for SVG.
I myself, I've spent many years working, as Irvin will tell you, as Brian will tell you, in the north, in District 8, a prominent vegetable producing area of this country, and a country that we know was severely impacted by the disaster. Immediately these things happen, the farmers in that area come to my mind. Because when I was a young man, very young, working with them, they took me, and they have never let me go to this day. And they're always in the back of my mind with these things. ICA decided, therefore, after some consultation with the Ministry of Agriculture, to have, as part of its response, to support the vegetable redevelopment in the countries. And our first effort in this regard was to see what material support we could provide.
Dalton said he is also involved in consulting with different farming organizations in the country on a grassroots project.
We have to look critically at how we engage the farmers in the communities. And I've spent some night consulting with the farmers' organizations to develop what I call grassroots projects. Central Farmers Cooperative, SOAPCO, both of those cooperatives, we have been successful so far in having a project approved from the Canadian Embassy for vegetable production. And I'm working with two farmers' organizations out of Langley Park now. Just yesterday, we received approval to go forward from the concept note stage into the development of a full project. And those initiatives, again, in the area of vegetable production, at the grassroots level, with farmers' organizations, intended to build the organizations and in the process, boost the production of vegetables in the communities.
Also addressing the seeds distribution ceremony was Minister of Agriculture, Suboto Caesar, who thanked the IICA and its representative, Dalton Michael, for their continued partnership with the ministry.
In his capacity personally for the work that he continues to do with the Ministry of Agriculture, and more generally, the work that he continues to do through ICA, the organization which he represents. When he left the Ministry of Agriculture to go to ICA, I remember that time I was in the ministry, I did not see him as leaving, because the relationship between ICA and the ministry is an excellent one. Left him so that I could single him out and the organization that he works for, and particularly to mention the concern, the dedication, and the resolute efforts of the Director General himself.
Minister Caesar further noted that the seeds received and distributed are the first phase of the donation to assist with redeveloping SVG's vegetable production.
In the supplementary estimates, we also carved out a special envelope for the purchasing of seeds by the government for distribution. It was clear from a meeting in the ministry that the seeds are not here to be kept by the ministry, but they are here to be handed out to people who are going to make, persons who are going to make use of them. There are many farmers out there who are already waiting. There are persons here in the room, and there are organizations that we will be working with over the coming months.
Meanwhile, Minister Caesar praised local farmers for their work, noting their resilience during challenging times. He said while the road ahead will not be easy, the role of the government at this time is to enable them to thrive.
I am hearing clearly this morning that the farmers of St. Vincent and the Grenadines are not going to give up. I am sensing here this morning, by just our mere presence and our articulations thus far, that we understand that the road ahead is not going to be an easy one, but nothing is going to drown the fighting spirit of the Vincentian farmer. It's to ensure that he guides the ship, to ensure that over the next few months that stakeholders, the producers in North Leeward, the producers in North Windward, the producers throughout the length and breadth of this country, that they get the hardware needed for them to succeed.
The Agriculture Minister further spoke on how farmers and other stakeholders in the agriculture industry will be working in partnership to help to reduce the food import bill by planting some of the imported crops locally.
In this room, there are several stakeholders from community-based organizations, from cooperatives, from the private sector, from state entities, expressing today a willingness to partner. And we expect and anticipate that when we sow these seeds, they are going to bear great fruit. And the fruits of our labor, we will be able to consume them and in turn reduce the food import bill. We are focusing primarily on persons who propagate seeds, persons who sell seedlings, because you play a very important role.
60 staff members of the Forestry Department of the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, Fisheries, Rural Transformation, Industry and Labor, as well as volunteers, are currently conducting a national parrot census of the Amazona Gildingi. For the census, which got started on Tuesday, September 14th and ends on Friday, September 17th, the participants will journey to 5 sectors positioned in remote locations of the interior forests of mainland St. Vincent. In the past years, the exercise of the census was conducted on a biannual cycle to determine the estimate of the endangered St. Vincent parrot population size in the wild. This was initially started in 1986 to determine the population and monitor the trends in the wild population. The recent census of 2010 recorded an estimated 800 parrots. No census was conducted since then. The Forestry Division said the recent eruptions of the Lasufera volcano, along with the almost annual occurrences of extreme weather events, have heightened the need for a census to determine if these eruptions impacted the wild population. The venture is made possible by resources received from 2 Global Environmental Facility GEF-funded projects executed through the UNDP, conserving biodiversity and reducing land degradation using a ridge-to-reef approach. And the UNDP integrating water, land and ecosystems and management in Caribbean Small Island Developing States project. The department said the methodology adopted will consist of teams conducting dawn to dusk watches in 5 sectors, which are further subdivided into 5 watch points. It is said in the past census exercise were executed over a 5-week span, 1 sector per week. However, with the provision of resources through the joint projects, the current census will take on a different approach and will consist of all the sites being observed simultaneously, giving the opportunity to make observation throughout the island at the same time. The department said it hopes for a favorable weather to allow for the exercise to provide data as it relates to the current wild population stock of the national bird, the flagship species of SVG. It said other observation will provide information regarding the health of the nation's forest and the ecosystem services it provides. Craftsmen and women are very important to the local tourism industry. This comes from a Quality Assurance Officer Anna Brown in the Ministry of Tourism at a recently held training seminar for adult and continuing education. Brown said that tourism is a multifaceted industry that doesn't only deal with transportation, accommodation, attraction, and sites, but also deals with the authentic Vincentian culture, such as crafts.
We get to tell visitors and other locals alike our story, our history. So that is why you're important, because like tour guides, you are our storytellers, but you do it through your craft, through your creativity. So when you're approaching craft within the tourism sector, we want you to think about what would your visitors want. And the answer simply to that question is that visitors want exactly what you want. Visitors want, if you go, you travel, you want the same thing that a visitor coming to St. Vincent would want as well. So what do you want? You want quality service. You want value for your money. You want new experiences. You want authentic offerings, and you want things that are easy for you to participate in, easy for you to travel with, and that is what our visitors are expecting.
The Quality Assurance Officer outlines some of the criteria that craftsmen and women should consider when they are making craft and want to sell them locally, regionally, and even internationally.
Is your product offerings, the prices of your product offerings, the packaging, your service quality, and we know how important quality service is in not only tourism but just our daily lives, and making yourself and giving yourself a competitive advantage. If I am coming to a destination, I'm a visitor, I want something that is authentically Vincentian. So when I go back, I can say, I got this from St. Vincent, right? So we have to ensure that our product is authentically Vincentian. We don't want to see made in China, made in Thailand, because person wants to take back a part of their vacation with them when they leave our shore, sorry. I know oftentimes being environmentally conscious and environmentally friendly has now become a big trend in tourism. Persons travel to places to ensure that they're participating in things that are not only authentic to the destination, but they are also environmentally friendly.
Meanwhile, Export Development Manager for Invest SVG, Peter Edward, noted that he and others in the industry will be traveling to Dubai on Saturday to represent SVG at the Dubai Expo, and that crafts made in SVG will be a part of the exhibition.
The process of getting people interested in your product or service, and this is important. If you are going to to create something that is unique, that is different from everybody else's, you have to take the time to market your product. You have to take the time so that people understand what you're doing. And sometimes we see those nice baskets and chains and whatever, and we think it's just happening overnight. But I know, because when we did everything Vinci Expo, I had the opportunity to visit most of those craft people, and it takes days to get something done, and sometimes we take it for granted because we just see the finished product.